I'm in. Kang trusts me completely.
Good. Chen Wei wants specifics. When and where is the next meeting?
Tuesday night. Abandoned warehouse in Incheon. The one by the docks. He's meeting your people to negotiate territory.
How many guards?
5. Including me. He thinks it's neutral ground. Thinks your boss actually wants peace.
Right. What about his route? Entry points?
He'll arrive at 9 p.m. East entrance. I'll make sure the west exit is chained. He always plans 3 escape routes. I'll cut off 2 of them.
And you'll be there? Inside?
Yes. But you promised I'd walk out alive. That was the deal.
You'll walk out. As long as you do exactly what we tell you. When the shooting starts, you drop and stay down.
And my payment?
2 million won. Wired to your offshore account the moment Kang is confirmed dead.
There are moments in life when everything you thought you knew shatters in a single breath. For Kang Ji-hoon, that moment came on a rain-soaked Tuesday night in Seoul, bleeding out in an alley that smelled of garbage and regret. 3 bullets in his chest, phone smashed, guards dead, and the bitter knowledge that someone he trusted had sold him out. He was the king of Seoul's underworld, untouchable, feared, the kind of man whose name made grown men look over their shoulders. But power means nothing when your blood is pooling on concrete and your vision is fading to black. That's when she found him, a woman he'd never met, a waitress from a café he'd never noticed, with hands that moved too precisely and eyes that held secrets he couldn't yet name. She saved his life that night, and in doing so, she destroyed everything he thought he understood about trust, loyalty, and the thin line between love and betrayal. Because Maya Chen wasn't just a waitress. She was the daughter of his greatest enemy, the woman sent to kill him, and the only person in the world who could make him question whether revenge was worth more than love. This is their story, and it starts with blood. Ji-hoon had been in the business long enough to know when something felt wrong. The warehouse was too quiet. The meeting location too isolated. His second-in-command, Min-ho, had warned him that morning over coffee and cigarettes in his penthouse office. The Chen syndicate wanted to negotiate a territory truce, they said. Neutral ground, they promised. Just leaders, no weapons, no games. Min-ho had looked him dead in the eye and said the Chen family didn't negotiate. They eliminated. But Ji-hoon had been confident. Arrogant, even. He'd brought 5 of his best men. He'd worn a vest under his Tom Ford suit. He'd planned 3 exit routes. None of it mattered. The ambush came fast. One moment, Ji-hoon was walking through the warehouse entrance, his footsteps echoing on concrete. The next, the lights exploded in a shower of sparks and bullets tore through the darkness like angry hornets. His men dropped before they could even draw their weapons. Professional hits, clean shots. Whoever planned this knew exactly what they were doing. Ji-hoon moved on instinct. Years of survival kicked in before his brain could process the betrayal. He rolled behind a concrete pillar as bullets chewed chunks out of the wall where his head had been seconds before. His gun was already in his hand. He fired blind into the darkness, buying himself seconds, not safety. He counted at least 8 shooters. Maybe more. This wasn't a negotiation gone wrong. This was an execution. Someone had leaked his schedule, his route, his security details. Someone close. The thought burned hotter than the bullet that punched through his shoulder. He ran. Not retreat. Survival. Through the back corridors of the warehouse, his expensive shoes slipping on oil-stained floors. Behind him, he heard his last remaining guard scream and then go silent. He was alone. The reality of it hit him like a fist to the gut. Kang Ji-hoon, who commanded 300 men across Seoul, was alone and bleeding and running for his life. The exit door was chained. Of course it was. They'd planned for everything. He shot the lock off, the sound deafening in the enclosed space, and burst into the alley beyond. Rain hit his face like cold needles. The night air tasted of exhaust fumes and his own fear. That's when the second wave hit him. 2 bullets. Center mass. His vest caught one, but the other found the gap under his ribs. Then a third bullet tore through his thigh and his leg gave out beneath him. He collapsed against a dumpster, his gun clattering from his hand, his vision already starting to blur at the edges. Blood. So much blood. It was warm against his skin, soaking through his shirt, running down his leg. He pressed his hand against the wound in his side, but blood pulsed between his fingers with each heartbeat. Too much. Too fast. He'd seen enough men die to know what this meant. His phone was smashed in his pocket. Useless. His men were dead. The street around him was empty. This part of Seoul's industrial district died after sunset. No witnesses, no heroes, just him in the rain and the concrete that would be his grave. Ji-hoon laughed. It came out as a wet cough that brought blood to his lips. This was how it ended. Not in a blaze of glory, not making a last stand, but bleeding out in an alley like a dog while his enemies celebrated. The great Kang Ji-hoon, dead at 34 because he'd been stupid enough to trust the wrong person. His vision was fading now. The rain sounded distant, like it was falling in another world. The pain was fading too, which he knew was worse. That meant shock. That meant minutes, not hours. He thought about his father, dead 5 years now. About the empire he'd built. About all the enemies who would be celebrating tomorrow when they heard the news. He closed his eyes. He was so tired. Maybe dying wouldn't be so bad. At least, it would be quiet. That's when he heard the footsteps. Fast. Light. Running toward him, not away. His eyes cracked open, a woman's silhouette against the streetlight. Small, thin, wearing a Café apron under a rain-soaked jacket. She dropped to her knees beside him, her hands already moving to his wounds. "Oh God! Oh God! Stay with me!" Her voice was steady despite the panic in her words. Her hands were steadier. They moved over his body with the kind of precision that only came from training. She ripped his shirt open, found the wounds, pressed down hard. The pain slammed back into him and he groaned. Good. Pain meant alive. "Who shot you?" She was looking around the alley, her eyes sharp, checking for threats. "Are they still here?" He tried to speak, but only managed a wet cough. She leaned closer, her face coming into focus. Young. Maybe late 20s. Pretty in a way that didn't require makeup or effort. Dark eyes that were too calm for someone who'd just found a dying man. "Don't talk. Save your strength." She was taking off her jacket, pressing it against his side wound. Her hands were small but strong. She knew exactly where to apply pressure. "I'm going to get you out of here, but I need you to stay conscious." "Can you do that?" He nodded. "Barely." "Good. What's your name?" He shouldn't tell her. She was a civilian. The less she knew, the safer she'd be. But he was dying, and she was the only person in the world trying to stop it. So he whispered, "Ji-hoon." "Okay, Ji-hoon. I'm Maya, and I'm not going to let you die in this alley. Do you understand me?" He didn't understand anything. Not why she was here, not why she was helping, not why her hands moved like she'd done this before. But he nodded anyway because her voice was an anchor and he was drowning. Maya stood up, her small frame somehow supporting his considerable weight as she hauled him to his feet. He was 6'2" and built like someone who'd spent years in boxing rings. She couldn't have been more than 5'6", but she moved him like she'd trained for this. One arm around his waist, his arm over her shoulders, taking his weight on her hip. "My apartment is 2 blocks away. You can make it. 1 foot in front of the other." Her voice was in his ear, steady and sure. "Don't you dare die on me, Jahoon. I didn't ruin my favorite jacket for nothing." He tried to laugh, but it came out as another cough. She adjusted her grip, taking more of his weight, and started moving. Each step was agony. The bullet in his thigh screamed with every movement. The wound in his side felt like it was tearing wider. But she kept him moving, kept talking to him, her voice the only thing tethering him to consciousness. "That's it. Good. You're doing great. See that building? The one with the blue sign? That's where we're going. Just a little further." He focused on her voice, on the way her shoulder fit under his arm, on the smell of coffee that clung to her despite the rain. Anything to stay conscious. Anything to keep putting 1 foot in front of the other. They reached the door. She fumbled with keys, got it open, hauled him inside, and up a narrow staircase that seemed to stretch forever. His blood left a trail on the steps. Evidence. Witnesses. His enemies would find this place. They'd find her. But he couldn't warn her. Could barely breathe. Another door. A small apartment. She kicked the door shut behind them, and half carried, half dragged him to a bed. He collapsed onto it, his vision tunneling. She was moving around the room, fast and efficient, gathering supplies. Medical supplies. More than a basic first aid kit. Actual medical equipment. "Stay with me, Jahoon." She was back, cutting away his ruined shirt with scissors. Her hands were bloody now, but they didn't shake. She was checking his wounds, her face focused and calm. "The vest saved your life. The shoulder wound went through clean, but the one in your side," she pressed. Down, and he groaned. "I need to see if it hit anything vital." She worked in silence for a moment, her fingers probing the wound with a gentleness that contradicted the clinical efficiency of her movements. Then she sat back, relief flashing across her face. "You're lucky. Missed the major organs, but I need to stop the bleeding and get the bullet out of your thigh. This is going to hurt." He wanted to ask where she learned this. What waitress knew field medicine? But she was already moving, setting up what looked like a surgical tray on her bedside table. Scalpels, forceps, sutures, things no ordinary person should have. "I don't have anesthesia. I'm sorry." She met his eyes. "But if I don't do this now, you're going to bleed out or go into shock. Probably both." He nodded. He'd been shot before. He knew pain. She picked up the scalpel, and he saw her hand shake, just once, before she steadied it. Then she went to work. The pain was white-hot and absolute. He felt the blade cut deeper into his thigh, felt her fingers inside the wound, searching for the bullet. He bit down on the belt she'd shoved in his mouth and tasted leather and blood. Sweat poured down his face. His vision grayed out. "Stay with me." Her voice cut through the pain. "Don't you dare pass out. Stay with me." He focused on her face, on the concentration there, on the way she bit her lower lip as she worked, on the impossible steadiness of her hands despite what she was doing. This wasn't her first time. This wasn't even close to her first time. Metal clicked against metal. She held up the bullet, triumphant, then tossed it aside and grabbed gauze. The pressure she applied made him see stars, but the pain was already receding, replaced by a dull throb. She worked quickly, cleaning the wound, packing it, wrapping it, then moved to his side, repeating the process. Her hands were covered in his blood. Her white Café apron was ruined, but she didn't seem to notice or care. She was entirely focused on keeping him alive, and he realized with a distant sense of wonder that she was going to succeed. When she finally sat back, her face was pale and there was blood smeared across her cheek where she'd pushed her hair back. but her eyes were bright with something that looked like victory. "You're going to live." She said it like a promise, like a threat. "The wounds are clean. I've stopped the bleeding. You'll need antibiotics and rest, and probably actual medical care from a real hospital. But you're going to live." He spat out the belt. His voice was raw when he managed to speak. "Who are you?" She stood up, gathering the bloody supplies, not meeting his eyes. "I already told you. I'm Maya." "That's not what I mean." He tried to sit up, but his body refused. "What waitress knows field surgery?" She paused, her back to him. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then she turned, and her expression was carefully neutral. "My mother was a nurse. I grew up watching her. Helping her, I learned. It was a lie. Or at least, not the whole truth." He could hear it in her voice. But he was alive because of her. So he let it go. For now. "Thank you." The words felt inadequate. She'd saved his life. There was no repayment for that. No transaction that could balance those scales. She smiled, and for the first time since she'd found him, the mask cracked. She looked scared. Young. Human. "You're welcome. Now get some rest. I'll check on you in a few hours." She turned off the light and left the room, closing the door softly behind her. Jihoon lay in the darkness, listening to the sound of water running in another room. She was cleaning up, washing his blood off her hands. He should be planning. Should be figuring out how to contact his men, how to identify the traitor, how to strike back at Chen, but his body was shutting down, demanding rest, demanding recovery. And underneath the pain and the exhaustion, there was something else. A question that wouldn't let go. Who was Maya, really? And why did someone with her skills end up saving his life? He fell asleep with those questions unanswered. When he woke, she was gone. The apartment was silent. Morning light filtered through cheap curtains. His wounds ached, but the pain was manageable. He was alive. Against all odds, he was alive. He sat up slowly, his body protesting every movement. The room was small and sparse. A bed, a dresser, a single chair, nothing personal except a photo on the dresser. He picked it up. Maya and a young man, maybe her age, both smiling at the camera. Her brother? The frame was old, the photo worn, like she looked at it often. On the bedside table, he found a note written in neat handwriting. "You're welcome. Stay safe. The bathroom has fresh bandages. Change them twice a day. The antibiotics are in the bottle. Take them all. Don't be stupid. Rest for at least 3 days. And please, don't come looking for me. Forget this happened. Forget you ever met me." Jihoon read it 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. She'd saved his life and asked for nothing. Not money, not protection, not even his name beyond what he'd given her. She'd told him to forget her, to walk away, to pretend this night never happened. But Kang Jihoon didn't forget debts, and he never walked away from mysteries. Especially not mysteries wrapped in kindness and soaked in his blood. He found his phone, smashed beyond repair, his gun, cleaned and placed on the dresser, his wallet, untouched. She hadn't taken anything, hadn't even looked through his things for information. She'd simply saved him and disappeared. He managed to stand, testing his leg. The pain was brutal but manageable. He'd had worse. He limped to the window and looked out at Seoul waking up. Somewhere out there, Chen was celebrating. Somewhere out there, a trader was collecting payment. And somewhere out there, a waitress named Maya was probably serving coffee and pretending she hadn't spent the night elbow deep in a mafia boss's blood. He smiled despite the pain, despite everything. She'd asked him to forget her. That was the one thing he knew he'd never do. Jihoon's penthouse was in chaos when he finally made it back 3 hours later. He'd called Minho from a burner phone, given him the address of a parking garage 2 blocks from Maya's apartment, and waited. When his second-in-command arrived with a car and 2 armed guards, The relief on Minho's face had been almost comical. "Boss, we thought you were dead. We found the warehouse, found the bodies. Your phone signal died and we..." Minho had stopped talking when he saw the blood, the makeshift bandages, the way Jihoon could barely stand. "Who did this to you?" "Chen." Jihoon had climbed into the car, every movement agony. "He set a trap. Professional hit squad. They knew everything. Our route, our timing, our security protocols." Minho's face had gone dark. "We have a leak." "We have a traitor," Jihoon had corrected. "Someone close enough to know details only the inner circle has access to. Find them." Now, sitting in his living room while his personal doctor removed Maya's careful stitching and replaced it with proper surgical work, Jihoon watched his empire mobilize. Men came and went, reporting on security sweeps, interrogations, retaliation plans. The Chen syndicate had made their move. Now it was his turn. But his mind kept drifting back to the apartment, to the woman with steady hands and secrets in her eyes. "Boss, you're not listening." Minho was standing in front of him, frustration evident. "I said we've identified 3 possible moles. Do you want me to bring them in for questioning?" Jihoon refocused. Business first, mystery second. "Bring them in, quietly. I want to know who sold me out before Chen realizes we're still in the game." "About that," Minho pulled out his phone, showing him a news article. "Chen's people are already spreading word that you're dead. They're claiming territory in Gangnam, testing our borders. Let them." Jihoon accepted the pain medication his doctor handed him and dry swallowed the pills. "Let them think I'm dead. Let them get comfortable. Then we'll remind them why my father built this empire in the first place." Minho grinned. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "I'll spread the word to our people. Keep the truth contained. As far as Seoul knows, Kang Jihoon died in that warehouse." "Good." Jihoon stood, ignoring his doctor's protests. His legs screamed, but he'd learned long ago how to function through pain. "And Minho, I need you to find someone for me." "Who?" "A woman, late 20s, works as a waitress somewhere in the industrial district. First name Maya, that's all I have." Minho's eyebrows rose. "This about last night?" "She saved my life. I need to know who she is." "Boss, is that wise? Getting civilians involved in our business?" Jihoon thought about her hands, so steady as they cut into his flesh, about the medical supplies in her apartment, about the way she'd moved him like she'd been trained in combat casualty care. "I don't think she's a civilian. Not entirely. Just find her." Minho nodded and left. Jihoon limped to his floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over Seoul. Somewhere in this city of 10 million people, Maya was going about her day, serving coffee, smiling at customers, pretending she hadn't saved a monster's life. He touched the note in his pocket. She'd asked him to forget her. But Kang Jihoon had built his empire on never forgetting anything, especially not debts. And he owed her everything. Maya's hands shook as she poured coffee for the businessman at table 6. She'd been shaking all morning, ever since she'd returned home last night to find Kang Jihoon gone, taking only his ruined clothes and his secrets with him. She'd scrubbed her apartment for 2 hours, removing every trace of blood, burning the medical waste in her building's incinerator, disposing of the bullet she'd extracted in 3 different trash cans across the district. There was no evidence that last night had happened, except for the memory burned into her mind, the feel of his blood on her hands, the weight of him as she dragged him up her stairs, the way he'd looked at her before he passed out, like he could see straight through her lies. She'd saved him. The man her father had sent a kill squad after, the target she was supposed to be gathering intelligence on. And she'd saved him. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She checked it discreetly. A text from an unknown number. "Report in, now." Her father's handler. Maya's stomach dropped. She finished her shift on autopilot, smiled at customers, cleared tables, pretended everything was normal. At 3 p.m., when her replacement arrived, she hung up her apron and walked 6 blocks to a parking garage that smelled like oil and exhaust. The handler was waiting in his usual spot. Park Junho, her father's right-hand man and the closest thing Maya had to a supervisor in this nightmare. He was smoking a cigarette, his face impassive. "You didn't report in last night." His voice was flat, dangerous. "I was tired. I went straight home after my shift." Funny, because Kang Ji-hoon survived the warehouse hit. Against all odds, someone saved him, patched him up with professional medical care, made him disappear before our cleanup crew could finish the job. Maya's heart was pounding, but her face stayed calm. Years of practice, years of survival. "That's good news, isn't it? If he's alive, I can still get close to him. Complete the mission properly." Junho stepped closer, studying her face. "Your father thinks someone betrayed us. Someone with medical training. Someone who knew the hit was happening and intervened." "That's ridiculous." Maya met his eyes steadily. "I'm a waitress. I serve coffee. I smile at customers. That's all I do." "Your father also thinks," Junho continued, his voice dropping to a whisper, "that his daughter might have gotten soft, that maybe you've forgotten what happens to people who disobey him." The threat was clear. Maya thought of her brother, of the funeral they'd had when she was 19, of the lie her father had told about gang violence and wrong place, wrong time. She'd believed it for 3 years, before she'd learned the truth, that her father had killed his own son for wanting to leave the syndicate. That's when Maya had stopped being his daughter and started being his weapon. That's when she'd volunteered for this mission. Because getting close to Kang Ji-hoon meant getting close to her father's operation, meant finding evidence, meant taking down the man who'd murdered her brother and called it family business. "I haven't forgotten anything." Maya's voice was cold now. "Tell my father that Kang Ji-hoon is alive, which means the mission continues as planned. I'll find him. I'll get close to him. And when the time is right, I'll finish what the warehouse hit started." Junho smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Good. Because if you fail, if you betray us, your father said to remind you what happened to your brother, and to tell you that accidents can happen to anyone." He left. Maya stood in the parking garage for 5 full minutes, forcing her breathing to stay steady, forcing her hands to stop shaking. Then she walked back to her apartment, climbed the stairs where Ji-hoon's blood had dried to brown stains, and sat on the bed where she'd saved his life. She'd made her choice last night. She'd chosen to save him instead of letting him die. She'd chosen mercy over revenge, at least in that moment. But now she was trapped between 2 impossible options: her father's mission or her own conscience, revenge or redemption. And somewhere in Seoul, Kang Ji-hoon was alive because of her. Which meant he was also a target because of her. Because her father wouldn't stop. Wouldn't rest. Not until Ji-hoon was dead and the Kang syndicate was destroyed. Maya pulled out the photo from her dresser drawer. Her and her brother, both 17, both still innocent. Before he'd been killed. Before she'd learned what her family really was. Before she'd become whatever she was now. "I'm sorry, Taemin," she whispered to the photo. "I'm sorry I'm not stronger. I'm sorry I can't just let them all kill each other. I'm sorry I'm still trying to save people who probably don't deserve saving." The photo didn't answer. It never did. Maya put it back in the drawer and went to her bathroom. She had bandages to dispose of, evidence to burn, a double life to maintain, and somewhere in this city, a mafia boss was looking for her. She could feel it in her bones. He wasn't the type to let debts go unpaid or mysteries go unsolved. She'd asked him to forget her. But men like Kang Ji-hoon didn't forget anything, which meant she had to be ready for whatever came next. It took Ji-hoon's men 3 days to find her. 3 days of searching every cafe, every restaurant, every food service establishment in a 6-block radius of where she'd saved him. They'd shown her photo, taken from security camera footage, to dozens of workers. Most hadn't recognized her. A few had seen her but didn't know her name. And then, finally, a delivery driver remembered the cafe on the corner of 5th and Samsung. The one with the blue sign, the one where a pretty waitress named Maya worked the closing shift. Minho delivered the information personally. "We found her boss, Maya Chen. 28 years old, works at Café Bleu in the industrial district, lives in the apartment above it. No criminal record, no social media presence, no family listed on any official documents. She's a ghost. Ji-hoon looked up from the reports he'd been reviewing. His wounds were healing well. The doctor said he'd been lucky, that whoever had treated him initially had probably saved his life. He already knew that. A ghost with a name and an address isn't much of a ghost. That's the thing, boss. She's too clean. No one is that clean. No online presence at all, no family, no history before 5 years ago when she suddenly appeared in Seoul with a work visa and a rental application. She's either witness protection or she's hiding something. Or both. Ji-hoon stood, testing his leg. Still painful, but functional. I'm going to see her. Boss, is that wise? If she's connected to someone, showing up might expose her. Might expose you. I don't care. Ji-hoon grabbed his coat. She saved my life. I need to know why. I need to know who she really is. And I need to make sure Chen's people haven't connected her to me. If they have, she's in danger. Minho sighed. You're going to do this with or without me, aren't you? Yes. Fine, but I'm coming with you. And we're bringing backup. If this is a trap, I'd rather not lose my boss twice in 1 week. They went that evening. Ji-hoon dressed down, wearing jeans and a leather jacket instead of his usual suits. Trying to look normal, trying to blend in. It didn't really work. He was 6'2", built like a boxer, and moved like a predator even when injured. People noticed him. People always noticed him. The cafe was small and cozy, the kind of place frequented by factory workers and students who needed cheap coffee and free Wi-Fi. Ji-hoon entered alone while Minho and 2 guards waited outside. A bell chimed above the door. The place was half full. Evening crowd. He scanned the room and found her immediately. Maya was behind the counter, preparing someone's order. She wore a simple white shirt and black pants under her apron. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked young, innocent, nothing like the woman who'd cut bullets out of his flesh with surgeon's precision. She looked up. Their eyes met across the cafe. He saw the moment she recognized him. Saw her freeze for half a second before training took over and she continued making the coffee like nothing had happened. But her hands trembled slightly, just barely. Enough that he noticed. Ji-hoon walked to the counter and sat on one of the stools. Waited. She finished the order, handed it to a college student, and then approached him. Her smile was professional, polite, gave nothing away. Welcome to Café Bleu. What can I get you? He studied her face, looking for answers, looking for truth. Do you remember me? Her smile didn't waver. I'm sorry. I don't think so. Should I? 3 nights ago, a back alley, you saved my life. Her eyes flickered, just for a moment. Then the mask was back. I think you have me confused with someone else. I work here every night. I don't wander alleys looking for injured people. Your note said not to come looking for you. Ji-hoon pulled the folded paper from his pocket, placed it on the counter between them. I'm not very good at following instructions. Maya looked at the note, then at him, then around the cafe at the other customers. I can't talk here. My shift ends in 20 minutes. There's a park 2 blocks east. Meet me there. She walked away before he could respond. Started taking another customer's order like he didn't exist. Ji-hoon left money on the counter and walked out. Minho was waiting with questions on his face. She wants to meet. Privately. In 20 minutes. Boss, that's a trap. Maybe. Or maybe she's just scared. Ji-hoon started walking toward the park. Either way, I'm going. You can follow at a distance if it makes you feel better. The park was small. Just a few benches and some struggling trees under streetlights. Ji-hoon sat on a bench and waited. His leg ached. His side ached. Everything ached. But he ignored it. He'd learned to live with pain. Maya appeared 15 minutes later. She'd changed out of her work clothes into jeans and a jacket. She looked around carefully before approaching, checking for threats, for witnesses. Then she sat on the other end of the bench, leaving space between them. "You shouldn't have come looking for me." Her voice was quiet, tense. "It's dangerous. For both of us." "Why?" "Because people like you have enemies, and people like me can't afford to be noticed by those enemies." "People like me," Ji-hoon repeated. "So you know who I am." She finally looked at him. "I didn't that night. I just saw someone dying and I helped. It's what I do, what I was trained to do. But then you told me your name and I realized..." She stopped, looked away. "I realized I'd saved someone who probably had very good reasons for being shot." "You think I deserved it?" "I didn't say that." She pulled her jacket tighter around herself. "I don't know you. I don't know what you've done, or why someone wanted you dead. All I know is that you were bleeding out in an alley and I couldn't just walk past, that's all." Ji-hoon studied her profile, the tension in her shoulders, the way she kept her distance. She was scared, but not of him, of something else. "You have medical training, professional level. Where did you learn?" "I told you, my mother was a nurse." "That's a lie." She flinched. "It's close enough to the truth." "Who are you really, Maya? Why is someone with your skills working in a cafe and living in a one-room apartment? What are you hiding from?" She stood up suddenly. "I saved your life. You don't owe me anything. Just forget this happened. Forget you ever met me. Live your life and let me live mine." "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because you saved me when you had every reason not to." Ji-hoon stood too, stepping closer. She didn't back away. "Because someone with your training chose to work in a cafe instead of a hospital. Because you asked for nothing in return. Because everything about you is a question I need answered." Maya laughed. It was a bitter sound. "You don't need answers. You need to stay away from me. Trust me on this." "Give me one good reason." She met his eyes then, really looked at him, and for a moment he saw something raw there, something vulnerable. "Because I'm dangerous, not in the way you think, but dangerous all the same. And if you're smart, which I think you are, you'll take my advice. Forget me. Walk away. Don't look back." She turned to leave. Ji-hoon reached out, caught her wrist gently. She froze. He felt her pulse under his fingers, racing. She was terrified, but not of him touching her, of something bigger. "I'm going to protect you." He said it quietly, firmly. "Whether you want me to or not. Someone saved my life. That person is now under my protection. End of discussion. You can't protect me from what's coming. Try me." She pulled her wrist free but didn't walk away. Just stood there, war visible on her face. Finally, she spoke. "There are things about me you don't know. Things that would make you regret this conversation. This, whatever this is. Tell me." "I can't. Then I'll figure it out myself." Ji-hoon pulled out his phone, pulled up a contact. "I can have 20 men here in 5 minutes. We can make sure no one bothers you. Put guards on your building. Make sure you're safe." "No," she said it sharply. "No guards, no protection, no attention. That's the last thing I need." "Why, what are you so afraid of?" Maya looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled sadly. "Everything. I'm afraid of everything. But mostly I'm afraid of what happens when you realize who I really am, when you connect the dots, when you understand why I was in that alley at exactly the right time to save you." "Are you saying it wasn't coincidence?" She didn't answer, just looked at him with those dark eyes that held too many secrets. Then she took a step back. "I have to go. Please, don't come looking for me again. Don't send your men to watch me. Just let me disappear. It's better for everyone." "I can't do that. Then we're both in trouble." She turned and walked away. This time, he let her go, watched her disappear into the shadows between street lights, watched until he couldn't see her anymore. Minho appeared beside him. Well, did you get your answers? No. Jihoon touched his side where she'd stitched him up, where her hands had saved him. But I got more questions. A lot more questions. What do you want to do, boss? Put someone on her, discreetly. I want to know where she goes, who she talks to, what she does when she's not serving coffee. But keep distance. I don't want her to know she's being watched. You think she's connected to Chen? Jihoon remembered her face when she'd said she was dangerous. The fear there, the resignation. I think she's connected to something, and I think she saved me knowing exactly who I was and what it would mean. That's not kindness. That's something else. A trap? Maybe, or maybe she's trapped. Either way, I need to know the truth, before whatever she's running from catches up to her. They left the park. Behind them, from a shadow they hadn't noticed, Maya watched them go. Her phone buzzed, another text from Junho. Did he find you? She typed back. Yes. He wants to protect me. I told him to stay away. Good. Your father is pleased. The plan is working. Kang Jihoon is becoming obsessed. Make him trust you. Make him need you. Then we'll finish what we started. Maya deleted the texts and put her phone away. Her hands were shaking again. They'd been shaking since Jihoon had walked into the cafe. Since he'd sat on that bench and looked at her like she was a puzzle he was determined to solve. She'd saved him. And in doing so, she'd doomed them both. Because her father's plan was already in motion, and the worst part was that part of her, the part that had saved Jihoon's life, was hoping he'd figure it out in time. Was hoping he'd see through her lies, and her mission, and the trap she was building around him. Was hoping that maybe, just maybe, the man she was supposed to kill would save her instead. Jihoon became a regular at Café Bleu. Not every day, that would be too obvious. But 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Always in the evening when Maya was working. Always sitting at the counter where he could watch her. Where she couldn't avoid him. His men thought he'd lost his mind. Minho had said as much during a particularly tense strategy meeting about retaliating against Chen's territory grabs. Boss, with all due respect, we're in the middle of a war. Chen thinks you're dead. We have the advantage. We should be planning strikes, not spending our evenings in cafes watching waitresses make lattes. Jihoon had looked up from the security reports he was reviewing. I can do both. Can you? Because from where I'm standing, you're distracted. And distracted leaders make mistakes. Fatal mistakes. Minho was right. Jihoon knew he was right, but he couldn't stop. Every time he walked into that cafe and saw Maya behind the counter, something in his chest tightened. She was a mystery, wrapped in lies, and tied with secrets. And he'd built his empire on solving problems, on uncovering truths, on never letting anything remain unknown. Plus, there was the surveillance. His men had been watching her for 2 weeks now, and what they'd found only raised more questions. Maya Chen worked her shifts at the cafe, went home to her apartment, occasionally visited a nearby market. That was it. No friends, no family visits, no social life whatsoever. Once a week, she disappeared for exactly 2 hours. His men followed her to a gym in a bad part of town. She went in, came out exactly 2 hours later, and went home. When Jihoon had his tech team hack the gym security system, they'd found something interesting. Maya wasn't taking yoga classes or running on treadmills. She was in the basement training room, practicing Krav Maga, advanced level. Her instructor was a former military hand-to-hand combat specialist, and she trained like someone preparing for war. So, the waitress knows field medicine and combat training? Minho had said when they reviewed the footage. Boss, this woman is not who she claims to be. I know. Then why are you still going there? Why are you putting yourself at risk? Jihoon had watched the security footage again, watched Maya move through complex defensive maneuvers with fluid precision. Because I need to understand what she wants. If she was sent to kill me, she had her chance. I was unconscious in her apartment, completely vulnerable. She could have finished the job then, but she didn't. She saved me. So either she's playing a very long game, or there's something else happening here. Or she's conflicted, split loyalties, which makes her even more dangerous. Maybe she's exactly what I need right now. Minho had given him a long look. You're not falling for her, are you, boss? Ji-hoon hadn't answered because he didn't know the answer himself. Now, sitting at the cafe counter on a Thursday evening, watching Maya prepare his usual order, he wondered if Minho had been right to worry. There was something about her that pulled at him. The way she moved with careful precision, the way she never quite met his eyes anymore, the way her hands were always steady except when he was watching them. She placed his coffee in front of him. Americano, black, no sugar. She'd learned his order without him ever stating it directly. Another small mystery. You don't have to keep coming here. She said it quietly, wiping down the counter even though it was already clean. I told you, I'm fine. You don't owe me anything. What if I enjoy the coffee? We both know that's not why you're here. Ji-hoon took a sip. The coffee was actually good. Not that it mattered. You're right. I'm here because I can't figure you out, and I'm not used to that. Some mysteries are better left unsolved. I've never believed that. She finally looked at him. Really looked at him. There were shadows under her eyes, like she wasn't sleeping. What do you want from me, Ji-hoon? Really, what is this about? Honestly, I don't know yet. Maybe I just want to understand why someone saved my life and then asked for nothing in return. In my world, that doesn't happen. Everything has a price. Everyone wants something. Maybe I'm not from your world, but you are. Or at least, you've been trained by it. I know about the gym, about your combat training, about the fact that you have skills no normal waitress should have. Maya's face went carefully blank. You've been watching me. I've been making sure you're safe. There's a difference. Is there? She set down her cleaning cloth. Her voice was sharp now, angry. You put surveillance on me without my permission, without my knowledge. How is that protecting me? That's controlling me. That's treating me like I'm some kind of asset to be managed. She was right, and hearing her say it out loud made Ji-hoon realize how far he'd crossed the line. You're right. I'm sorry. I needed to know if you were in danger, if Chen's people had connected you to me. And have they? Not that I can tell, but that doesn't mean they won't, which is why I'm offering you protection. Real protection. A different apartment, security, money if you need it, a way out of whatever situation you're in. Maya laughed. It was a hollow sound. You think money and security can solve this? You have no idea what you're dealing with. Then tell me, help me understand. I can't. Why not? She leaned across the counter, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes, close enough to smell her shampoo, something floral and cheap. Because if I tell you the truth, one of us will end up dead. Maybe both of us. And despite everything, despite all the reasons I should walk away from you and never look back, I don't want that. The words hung between them. An admission, a confession. Ji-hoon's heart was beating faster than it should. You care about what happens to me. I shouldn't. God knows I shouldn't, but yes, I care. Which is why I'm asking you, begging you to stop coming here. Stop watching me. Stop trying to protect me. Just let me disappear back into being nobody. It's safer for everyone. I can't do that. Why not? Because nobody doesn't save lives. Nobody doesn't train in combat gyms. Nobody doesn't have secrets behind their eyes every time they look at me. You're somebody, Maya, and that somebody is in trouble. I can see it. I can feel it. And I don't abandon people who need help. Even if helping me puts you in more danger? Especially then. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she straightened up, putting distance between them again. You're impossible. You know that? I've been told a customer called for service. Maya left to help them. Jihoon finished his coffee and watched her work. She was good at it. Good at smiling, good at small talk, good at pretending to be normal. But every now and then, when she thought no one was looking, the mask slipped. And underneath was someone carrying weight that would have crushed most people. He wanted to know what that weight was, wanted to help her carry it. Or better yet, take it from her entirely, which was ridiculous. He barely knew her. She'd saved his life, yes, but that didn't mean he owed her anything beyond gratitude. Certainly didn't mean he needed to become obsessed with unraveling her mysteries. But he was obsessed, had been since he woke up in her apartment with her handwriting telling him to stay safe. Since he'd seen her walk away in that park and felt like he was losing something important. Since he'd started dreaming about her hands, always steady, always sure, always capable of both violence and healing. Minho was right. He was distracted, dangerously so. But he couldn't seem to stop. Maya came back to the counter. The cafe was emptying now. Late evening, almost closing time. She started cleaning up, preparing to lock the doors. "You should go, I need to close. Let me walk you home." "No." "Maya, no, Jihoon, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep inserting yourself into my life. It's not safe." "For which of us?" She slammed a cup down on the counter. Not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to make her point. "For both of us. Don't you understand? Every time you come here, every time someone sees us together, every time your men follow me home, you're painting a target on my back. And on yours, there are people watching, people who would use any connection between us as a weapon. So please, please just go." Jihoon stood up, pulled out his wallet, left more money than the coffee cost. "You're scared. I get it. But running doesn't solve problems. It just delays them. Whatever you're hiding from, whatever threat you're facing, it's going to catch up eventually. And when it does, I'd rather you have someone in your corner than face it alone." "You don't know what you're offering." "Then tell me." "I can't." They were at an impasse. Jihoon could see it on her face. She wanted to tell him, wanted to trust him, but something was holding her back. Fear, maybe, or loyalty to someone else, or maybe just the weight of whatever secrets she carried. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "I'm not giving up on this, on you. Whatever you think you need to handle alone, you're wrong. Everyone needs someone, even people like us." "People like us?" She looked at him with those haunted eyes. "You don't even know what I am." "Then show me. Trust me enough to show me." He left before she could respond. Outside, Minho was waiting with the car. "Well, any progress?" She's terrified of something or someone, but she won't say what. Maybe because it's you she should be afraid of, boss. Maybe her instincts are smarter than her heart. Jihoon got in the car. Maybe, or maybe she's afraid of herself, of what she's capable of choices she's made that she can't take back. You're reading a lot into a woman you barely know. Am I, or am I just seeing what's obvious to anyone paying attention? Jihoon looked back at the cafe. The lights were going off. Maya was closing up, alone, like she did everything. "She saved my life, Minho. That means something, even if I don't fully understand what yet." They drove back to his penthouse. Jihoon spent the evening reviewing reports on Chen's movements. The rival syndicate was getting bolder, moving into territories that had been Kang family holdings for decades, testing boundaries, looking for weaknesses. They still thought he was dead, which meant they were operating without fear, without caution. It was almost time to remind them why that was a mistake. But first, he needed to solve the Maya puzzle. Because his instincts, the same instincts that had kept him alive in a business where most people died young, were screaming that she was important. That understanding her was key to something bigger than just satisfying his curiosity. He pulled out her note again. read it for the 100th time. Don't come looking for me. Forget this happened. Forget you ever met me. But he couldn't forget. Wouldn't forget. Because Kang Ji-hoon had built his empire on remembering everything. Every debt. Every slight. Every moment that mattered. And Maya Chen, whoever she really was, mattered. Maya locked the cafe door and stood in the darkness for a moment, letting her mask fall. Her hands were shaking. They'd been shaking since Ji-hoon walked in, since he'd looked at her with those dark eyes that saw too much, since he'd offered her protection and safety and things she desperately wanted but could never accept. Because he was right about one thing. There were people watching. Her father's people. Junho checked in every few days, asking about her progress, about whether Ji-hoon trusted her yet, about when she'd be ready to complete the mission. The mission. Kill Kang Ji-hoon. Take him down from the inside. Use whatever means necessary to get close to him, make him vulnerable and strike when he least expected it. Except she'd already saved his life, which meant she'd already failed the mission. Unless she could convince her father that saving him was strategic, that it gained his trust, that it put her in the perfect position to destroy him later. The problem was, she wasn't sure she could destroy him. Not anymore. Not after seeing the way he looked at her. Like she was a person, not a tool. Like her secrets made her interesting instead of disposable. Like he actually cared what happened to her. No one had looked at her like that in 5 years. Not since Taemin died. Not since she'd learned her father had killed him, and she'd volunteered for this suicide mission disguised as revenge. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out. A text from Junho. Meeting. Tomorrow. Noon. Same place. Maya's stomach dropped. Meetings with Junho never meant anything good. They meant her father had questions. Or worse, orders. She texted back, "I'll be there." Then she walked the 2 blocks to her apartment, climbed the stairs, locked herself inside, and finally, let herself fall apart. She'd been doing this for 5 years, playing a role, pretending to be someone she wasn't, preparing for the day when she'd have evidence to take down her father's empire, to get justice for Taemin, to make everything mean something. But somewhere along the way, the lines had blurred. She wasn't sure anymore where Maya the weapon ended and Maya the person began, wasn't sure if there was even a difference anymore. And now there was Ji-hoon, complicated, dangerous, surprisingly kind Ji-hoon, who looked at her like she mattered, who offered protection without demanding anything in return, who was slowly, methodically, tearing down every wall she'd built around herself. She pulled out Taemin's photo, stared at his smiling face. "I'm sorry. I know I promised I'd make Dad pay for what he did to you, but I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I'm strong enough." The photo didn't answer, but she could almost hear Taemin's voice in her head, the way he used to talk to her when they were kids, before everything went wrong. "Then don't be strong, Maya. Just be human. That's all anyone can ask." But being human meant making choices, and every choice had consequences. If she continued the mission, Ji-hoon died. If she abandoned the mission, her father would kill everyone she'd ever cared about, which wasn't many people. But it was enough. She was trapped. Had been trapped from the moment she'd found Ji-hoon bleeding in that alley and made the choice to save him instead of letting him die. No, that wasn't true. She'd been trapped long before that. She'd been trapped the moment her father had killed Taemin, the moment she'd learned the truth, the moment she'd decided revenge was worth dying for. Maya lay down on her bed, the same bed where she'd saved Ji-hoon's life, where his blood had soaked through her sheets, where she'd sat afterward and wondered what the hell she'd just done. She closed her eyes, tried to sleep, but all she saw was Ji-hoon's face, the way he looked at her, the way he offered protection she couldn't accept, the way he was slowly becoming something she couldn't afford, couldn't risk, couldn't want, but wanted anyway. Her phone buzzed again. She ignored it. Whatever Junho wanted could wait until tomorrow. Tonight, she just needed to pretend, for a few hours, that she was nobody. That she didn't have missions, or secrets, or blood on her hands. That she was just Maya, just a girl, just someone who'd saved a life and was trying to figure out what that meant. But even as she thought it, she knew the truth. She wasn't just Maya. She was Chen Wei's daughter. She was Taemin's sister. She was a weapon and a spy, and someone who'd been living a lie for so long she wasn't sure what truth looked like anymore. And now she was also someone who couldn't stop thinking about the way Kang Ji-hoon looked at her. Like she was worth protecting, worth knowing, worth saving, which was the cruelest irony of all. Because the man she was supposed to kill was treating her like she had value, while her own father treated her like a tool, like something to be used and discarded when she was no longer useful. She thought about what Ji-hoon had said. Everyone needs someone, even people like us. But what if she didn't deserve someone? What if she'd done too much, lied too long, hurt too many people? What if the only thing she deserved was exactly what she'd signed up for? A mission, an end, a way to finally stop running from who and what she was. Sleep came eventually, but it was filled with dreams, of blood, of choices, of Ji-hoon's eyes watching her, of her father's cold smile, of Taemin's voice asking why she hadn't saved him the way she'd saved a stranger. She woke up exhausted, went to work, served coffee, smiled at customers, played her role, and at noon, she went to meet Junho, to hear what her father wanted, to receive orders she'd have to follow or die trying not to. The parking garage was the same as always. Junho was smoking. His face was impassive, but there was something in his eyes that made Maya's survival instincts scream. "Your father is not pleased," Junho said without preamble. "It's been 3 weeks since the warehouse hit. Kang Ji-hoon should be dead. Instead, he's very much alive, and according to our sources, he's been seen at your cafe multiple times." Maya's heart was pounding, but her face stayed calm. "I know, he found me, I told you that. He's curious about who saved him. But I've been maintaining distance, playing it careful." "Your father thinks you're playing it too careful. He thinks you should be moving faster, getting closer, creating opportunity." "I am getting closer, but rushing will make him suspicious. Men like Ji-hoon don't trust easily. I need time to—" "You don't have time." Junho stepped closer. "Your father has given you 2 weeks. 2 weeks. To get Ji-hoon vulnerable. To create an opening. To finish the job. If you can't do it, he'll send someone else. Someone who won't hesitate." "And what happens to me when you send someone else?" Junho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Your father believes in tying up loose ends. You understand." Maya understood perfectly. She had 2 weeks to kill Ji-hoon, or be killed herself. 2 weeks to betray the first person in 5 years who'd treated her like a human being. 2 weeks to become exactly what her father had made her. "Tell him I understand. Tell him it will be done." Junho nodded, dropped his cigarette, ground it under his heel. "Good, because your father also wanted me to give you some motivation, to remind you what's at stake." He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. Maya's breath caught in her throat. It was a picture of the cafe, of Ji-hoon sitting at the counter, of her bringing him coffee, and in the corner of the frame, barely visible, was someone else Maya recognized. Her old college roommate, the only person from her past life who still occasionally sent her messages asking how she was. One of the few people in the world Maya actually cared about. "Your father wanted you to know," Junho said quietly, "that your friend has a very nice apartment, very easy to access. Would be a shame if something happened to her. An accident, a break-in gone wrong, these things happen in big cities." The threat was crystal clear. Complete the mission, or everyone she'd ever cared about would die. One by one. Until she had nothing left. Until she was nothing but her father's weapon. Maya nodded. She didn't trust her voice to stay steady. Junho left. She stood in the parking garage for a long time. staring at nothing, feeling the trap close around her. She'd known this was coming, had known from the moment she saved Jahoon that there would be consequences. But somehow, she'd let herself hope. Let herself imagine that maybe, just maybe, she could find a way out. Could save herself and Jahoon and her friend, and somehow emerge from this nightmare with her soul intact. But hope was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not anymore. She had 2 weeks, 14 days, to figure out how to kill a man she was starting to care about. Or watch everyone she loved die instead. Maya walked back to the cafe. Her shift started in an hour. She'd smile, she'd serve coffee, she'd play her role, and she'd start planning. Because if she was going down, she was taking her father with her. Somehow, even if it killed her, which it probably would.